You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
You're listening to No Huddle Radio on the Packers Talk Radio Network, your home for in-depth and thoughtful Packers analysis. I'm your host, Gil Martin. My co-host is my good friend, Sean Tehan. In addition to this show, I write for the PackersPost.com and Cheesehead TV. Sean was a TV sportscaster in Minnesota. We're here to talk Packers because you're all here for one thing, and that's a love for Green Bay football. Sean, 2 games in the books. Packers off to a 2-0 start. Before we talk about the injury updates and week 3, how about a word from our sponsor?
Let's talk about our sponsor, because if you want to get in on the action, see these Packers in person, well, TicketKing.com, Wisconsin's own Ticket King. That's the way to go. For over 30 years, they've been providing Packers tickets to Packer fans, as well as Bucks, Brewers, and Summerfest tickets. You can find them on the web at TicketKing.com. That's TheTicketKing.com, or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. The web address is right there on your screen. If you're watching with us on YouTube today, you can watch every episode of No Huddle Radio on Packers Talk Network with Gil and myself on YouTube. Click on the bell, turn the notifications on while you're there. Join the discussion, chat with us live. Love to see and talk about the comments coming our way. And man, we got a lot to talk about, Gil. Obviously, massive start to the season where we would have been happy with opening against the Lions and the Commanders with a 1-1 split, but they get a 2-0 start to the season. And it's humongous. And it's been in dominant fashion, too. It hasn't just been in close games. They have been absolutely dominant victories. But a big part of that so far, Gil, has been tight end Tucker Kraft, who seems to be breaking out at the right time. He's seems to be the guy when it comes to the receiving options on offense. Well, Tucker Kraft had a little bit of a scare at practice on Thursday for the Packers, injuring his knee. He got some scans, but fortunately, sounds like he's okay. It sounds like it was just a tweak, and there's a chance he can play on Sunday. But Gil, if this is a longer-term injury than what we're anticipating, what does this mean for the Packers at the tight end group and on offense in general?
Well, I guess it's good news, bad news, right? I mean, the bad news, obviously, Tucker Kraft, just an incredible player, a guy who had his first 100-yard receiving game of his NFL career last week against Washington, a guy who I think and who I wrote about for Cheesehead TV, maybe on the cusp of Pro Bowl or All-Pro recognition. So that's the bad news, and you don't want to lose him. He's an integral part of your offense, big part of the red zone offense, especially. But you've got depth here, and that's the good news. You've got Luke Musgrave, second-round pick for a reason, finally healthy, hopefully stays that way. You've got Fitzpatrick, you've got Ben Sims. So, I mean, for a game, if necessary, or 2, I think the Packers can handle it, but long-term, I think Tucker Kraft is the kind of difference maker that you want out there on the field, especially later in the season and in the playoffs.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to lose him right now because he's your most targeted guy in the passing game so far 2 weeks into the season. He had a career performance on Thursday, had a memorable Lambeau leap, at least on my end. So him Lambeau leaping into our section was probably the coolest thing ever. But anyways, I'm not going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about Tucker Kraft in general. But you just saw what he could be in this offense and what essentially he's been kind of building up to. And he's been one of Jordan Love's go-to guys. He's an important third down receiver too, but he's a willing blocker in the run game. He's nasty. He's a football player, man. He's just everything you want in a tight end. He is an absolute football player. You hope that this knee issue is just something that is maybe he's out this weekend. And hopefully he's back week 4 when they go down to Dallas. But he is so important. I feel like the Packers, last year it seemed like their offense, they game planned a lot around Josh Jacobs. Now it seems like they're kind of game planning more so around Tucker Kraft. But Matt LaFleur, he's dealt with injuries on the offense before. I feel like the Packers have the right coach in place where they can make this work. And not only the tight end depth, they have good receiver depth. You still have Josh Jacobs in the backfield and good runners behind him. The Packers are in an okay spot right now.
Yeah, they are. And look, you talked about Kraft leading the team in targets. He leads the team in targets after 2 games, despite the fact that in week 1, he was busy chipping Aiden Hutchinson on many, many plays. So that limited his receiving opportunities to an extent, or kept them as very, very short checkdowns, after he made the chip. I mean, look, long term, he is an integral part of this offense. I love the fact that you could throw him a 2-yard pass and gain 12 yards on it with regularity. He's so hard to bring down one-on-one. Emotionally, I think he's also a big part of the way this team operates. If he has to miss Sunday's game, and we don't know as of the time of this recording what his ultimate status is going to be, I mean, I guess Cleveland would be as good a team as any if you had to miss a game. It's an AFC opponent. They're 0-2. But their defense is pretty darn good. So it's not a cakewalk.
And we'll talk about the Browns defense coming up, because they do have the defense is not the problem in Cleveland. It is not the problem in Cleveland at all. And we'll talk about them later in this episode. But I feel like Gil, if he doesn't go on Sunday, is there a lot of pressure on Luke Musgrave to produce?
I don't know about a lot. I think there's some pressure. I don't think the Packers would do the same things with Luke Musgrave that they do with Tucker Kraft. So they're not going to try to pigeonhole Musgrave into being Tucker Kraft 2.0. They're going to let Luke Musgrave do the things that he does. And maybe we see some more checkdowns to Josh Jacobs or Chris Brooks or Emmanuel Wilson, or maybe, either Fitzpatrick or Sims to do some of those shorter passes. And then you just let, Luke Musgrave do what he does better, which is get down the field and do some of those, stretch the field kind of plays. So it'll be interesting to see how Matt LaFleur handles it. But as you said, I think LaFleur is, the Packers are in good hands with LaFleur as their play caller. And because this happened today and not like Saturday, I think he'll have time to make some tweaks to the game plan if need be.
I'm glad to hear Tucker Kraft. It sounds like a minor knee injury that happened at practice on Thursday. But my first thought was, we've been talking about how Musgrave and Kraft, we want to see him on the field at the same time, because we feel like the offense can really take a new level with those two guys playing on the field at the same time. And then Kraft gets hurt. Musgrave's dealt with the injuries. Then Kraft gets hurt. But it sounds like Kraft, it sounds like it was just a scare. So that's good. But obviously the other big injury, Gil, we got to talk about Jaden Reed, who he caught an absolute dime from Jordan Love on Thursday Night Football. It was actually right in front of where we were sitting too. Slammed against the ground really hard. It would have been a touchdown if it wasn't for an Anthony Belton hold at right tackle. But Jaden Reed breaks his clavicle. And he was dealing with the Jones fracture in his foot. Now Jaden Reed, he had the surgery for his broken clavicle on Tuesday. Also had the surgery for his Jones fracture in his foot. Sounds like he's going to be out a couple months. But Jaden Reed's kind of been your number one guy his first 2 years in the league. So what happens at wide receiver? Who becomes the guy following Jaden Reed's injury? Because this position group is pretty deep. And so far, as a whole, they played pretty well so far. But who becomes the guy following this injury?
I think it continues to be wide receiver by committee. I think Romeo Doubs becomes your sort of bread and butter guy. And then I think Dontavian Wicks, so far, it's a small sample size, but it looks like he's cleaned up the drops so far. No drops through 2 games.
He's had a strong start to the year.
He has. So he'll step in and take a bigger role. And then as the season progresses and he gets more comfortable in the offense, Matthew Golden steps in. And what are we, about 2-3 weeks away from the possibility of Christian Watson being available? So I think the Packers will be okay. But between the offensive line injuries and the wide receiver injuries and now the tight end injuries, it's adding up. And you go back to what we were talking about a month or so ago, where should they play the players in preseason? And if you play them in preseason, does it reduce the likelihood of injuries? Apparently, so far this year, the answer is maybe not. So
there's no right or wrong way to go about that. There just isn't. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Hindsight is 20/20, and whatever you did, if it worked, you were a genius, and if it didn't work, after the fact, you made a mistake.
Yeah, when Jaden Reed, when he caught that pass, and I was at the game too, and when he caught that pass, when he slammed, you could hear it. I mean, we were that close where And I remember my brother and friends who we were with, we were just like, oh, that he broke a collarbone. Like, there's no way. And the way he was riding, like, there was no way he didn't do anything else because the way he was writhing, he was favoring. It's like, yep, he's done. He's toast. So, which is a bummer because Jaden Reed, I mean, he made a great catch. It was a ridiculous play. Obviously, it was called back. It was an unbelievable throw. It was an unbelievable catch. It was just great placement in general. But I got to think, though, Dobbs has been pretty reliable so far to start the year. Wicks' hands have been really strong. You're seeing Savion Williams get a little more involved in the offense, which I think that could be a game changer, Gil. Savion Williams, he's getting a little more opportunities, and it's fun. Like, the ball gets in his hands, and it's fun. But Matthew Golden, man, the opportunities are there. Like, he is breaking open, and he is getting – the opportunities are there. Matthew Golden is bound to break out pretty soon, I think, where – that 4th and 2 that the Packers went for early in that game again on Thursday against the Commanders, Golden was wide open. It was right in front of us. Golden was wide open, and Love threw it too late. And Love acknowledged that too, where it's like, yep, it was too late. And then Love to throw down the field when they're deep in their own territory to Golden, where I think with Watson being, 6 inches taller, 5-6 inches taller than Golden, Watson probably would have gotten that just because of the length, but Love just threw it a tick too early. It wasn't a bad throw. It wasn't a bad route. It was just a tick too early because it was a damn near perfect throw. And Matthew Gold, I mean, he was ready to explode on Thursday night. And I think that's going to come pretty soon. And that Jaden Reed's injury is going to open up those opportunities for him.
It will, and we'll see, how ready he is to step in and step up because, next man up mentality. Well, Rook, it's up to you. Go in there and do the thing.
Yeah, if the Packers can get a boost from Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, they're 2 rookies who they use premium draft picks on, adds a lot more talent to that room. And also, I got to think Malik Heath also he's gonna play a much bigger role. He had that ridiculous catch in the Thursday night game as well, Gil. But his blocking, we've always talked about how much we love him as a run blocker on the outside. I mean, he's a Matt LaFleur, like he's meant for that Matt LaFleur offense, just with how aggressive and how willing he is to block and do the dirty work. So he's going to get more opportunities too now with these injuries. And speaking of injuries, obviously, we'll just go through the Packers injury report real quick. Limited participants so far this week. Obviously, Tucker Kraft, he was not listed on Wednesday. He had a knee tweak on Thursday. It sounds like it's nothing major. He could potentially play on Sunday, but his status for Sunday is still up in the air. Right tackle Zach Tom, left guard Aaron Banks. They're both dealing with their injuries. They did not play on Thursday Night Football. They've been limited this week. Nate Hobbs made his Packers debut on Thursday. They held Jaden Daniels in check. Nate Hobbs was a nice part of that. Bo Melton's been limited after he missed Thursday game with a shoulder injury. And Josh Jacobs on the injury report with an ankle injury. He's been limited in practice this week as well. Full participants worth noting. Jordan Love still listed with that left thumb that he had the surgery on. He's been full this week. Safety Zane Anderson, he's also been a full participant. He's missed the first couple games this year. Now, moving on to the matchup, Gil. We got the Browns offense, the Packers defense. The Browns offense, well, it's been a bit of a problem in Cleveland where, ironically, they're actually total offense. They're ranked 16th overall on total offense this year. The Packers defense has just been outstanding against 2 really good quarterbacks, 2 really good offensive units in the first 2 games. They're 3rd in total defense right now. Cleveland scoring-wise, they're bottom 5 in scoring per game. They're top 10 in passing yards per game. A lot of that, though, was garbage time last week against Baltimore. Bottom 5 in rushing yards per game. Green Bay's defense, though, top 5 in points allowed, top 10 in passing yards allowed, and number 2 in rushing yards allowed. Gil, what's the matchup that we got to watch between this Browns offense and this Packers defense? Because it seems like this is this could be a big day for the Packers defense.
It could be. And the first thing that grabs my attention is the Packers front 7 against the offensive line of the Cleveland Browns, getting some pressure on the quarterback. Joe Flacco, not exactly the Jaden Daniels mobile type quarterback.
No. Even in his prime, he wasn't.
No, but especially now. I mean, he's one of the few quarterbacks who's older than you, right, in this league. So who's still starting. And no disrespect to Joe Flacco. He's had quite a solid career in the NFL. But I think the Packers should be able to get some pressure on Flacco and make his life difficult on Sunday in Cleveland.
Well, the Browns, their head coach is Kevin Stefanski. Obviously ran some really good offenses in Minnesota. He's ran some pretty good offenses in Cleveland in his time as head coach too. And the big thing with the Browns offense is they want to get the ball out quick. They want to get the ball out to the playmakers and get out quick. Packers been really good against in these first 2 weeks against two offenses who try to do the same thing. But essentially, they've done such a good job with the Micah Parsons addition, getting opposing quarterbacks off the spot, making them hurry into stuff that they may not want to hurry into. Now, the Browns offensive line, they've allowed 4 sacks in 2 games this year. Passer rating, though, so far between Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel, 75. That's 5th worst in the NFL. And then Green Bay's defense, 8 sacks so far in 2 games. That's tied for second in the NFL behind New England. And an 87.7 opposing quarterback passer rating. Green Bay's pass rush has been really, really good, Gil. And I feel like this game statistically could be massive, very much like last year's Week 3 game for Green Bay when they went to Nashville and they sacked Tennessee Titans quarterback Will Levis 8 times. I feel like this could be potentially prime for that kind of opportunity, given the situation and where this defense is in Green Bay and where the offense is in Cleveland.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, first of all, Micah Parsons should have more snaps this week than he did in week 1 and
worth
week
noting
2.
real quick, Micah Parsons was removed from the injury report this week. He's no longer listed.
So the back is no longer officially anyway an issue. And you know, he had the mini bye, so he's had a little more time to learn the defense and to get more into football shape. I get the feeling that he's going to have, and plus, I'll even throw this in. You've got 2 of the premier pass rushers in the game in this contest, but Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons. You don't think there's going to be a little friendly competition between those guys, that Parsons isn't going to be psyched up to say, hey, we're going to win the game and I'm going to have more sacks and more plays that I'm going to make than Myles Garrett?
Yeah, these guys where it's like, they seem like nice guys on camera for the most part, but I mean, you got to have some kind of ego to be able to succeed in the NFL. You know, there's a lot of pride there too. So I could definitely see that, Gil. I do want to mention also, I think the Packers front 7 against the Browns rushing attack is going to be critical. That's going to be a matchup that's going to be very critical in this game too, where the Browns, Kevin Stefanski wants to run the football. They have not ran the football very well this year, and Green Bay's defensive front has just been outstanding. They're allowing opposing ball carriers to only rush for 2.4 yards per carry. That's second in the NFL, actually behind Cleveland. We'll talk about their defense in a bit. Cleveland's rushing attack, though, only averaging 3.6 yards per carry. That's tied for 6th worst in the league. Now, the Browns are listing rookie running back Quinshon Judkins as running back 1. He was the last rookie to be signed to a contract before the season started. He had 10 carries, 61 yards on Sunday in Baltimore. So you got to be ready against a guy who doesn't really have a lot of wear and tear right now early in the season on his body with his legs and everything. Because I think the Browns they're gonna try to emphasize using Quinshon Judkins quite a bit in this game. The Green Bay's got to be ready for the rush defense.
They do, and the rush defense has been solid so far. I think it's been really good.
Really good.
And that's, I mean, what's the average? 2.4 against the
2.4 yards per carry. Yep.
Yeah. So I like the way that the rush defense has gone. And look, one of the issues for the Browns with their running attack is they fall behind. And when you fall behind, you're not going to be able to run the ball as often. But I also think their offensive line is not particularly strong at opening holes for the run. And, the Packers are going to want to keep everything in front of them. So the run, they've done a really good job. I've got to give Colby Wooden a lot of credit for the job he's done. I mean, we weren't sure in training camp if he was going to make the team.
Yeah.
And he has bulked up, stepped up, and done the job through the first 2 games. So, I mean, if the Packers can keep that running game in check, and I think they should be able to, if you got Joe Flacco coming up 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 on a regular basis, it's going to be a long day for the Cleveland offense.
My favorite thing is when a player proves us wrong in a positive way. And Colby Wooden, can't help but root for that guy, man. He's been awesome. He has really been awesome. But, I mean, hey, Thursday night, they held Jaden Daniels, who is very good as a quarterback running and a very good running quarterback, to 17 rushing yards. That's That's incredible, man. Like, that's not Jaden Daniels is no slouch. That guy's a stud, and they held him in check. Nice to have two linebackers who can run like Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper too behind that defensive line that also has a guy named Micah Parsons now, So it's just it's such a luxury where they have really been able to handle these opposing offensive lines and offensive fronts moving in the first part of the year.
And I love the way that right now the Packers defense under Jeff Hafley is playing complementary football.
Yep.
You look at what they did against Jaden Daniels. They're mixing up the rushes. They're moving Parsons around when he's in there. Sometimes he's in the A gap. Sometimes he's on the edge. But the beautiful thing is they're playing a zone defense. And so when the same formation that they can use to stop the run is the same formation that they use to make sure Jaden Daniels doesn't run wild when he tries to scramble, and B, they keep everything in front of them and then rally to the ball. So the defense, their run defense and pass defense, is internally playing complementary football, and that's why they're one of many reasons they're doing so well.
The beauty of a really great NFL defense today is being able to rush with 4, having 2 really good linebackers, and then being able to have 5 DBs on the field. That is the recipe for a successful NFL defense, and the Packers are thriving right now early on. And they don't look to be slowing down anytime soon. Now, let's switch to the other sides of the ball. Packers offense versus the Browns defense. Packers offensively, Green Bay's total offense, 12th in the league right now. In the NFL, and Cleveland's total defense, Gil, we mentioned it earlier in this episode. They are not the problem. They are first in total defense so far this season. Third best passing defense, the top rushing defense so far in the first 2 weeks. Green Bay's offense, they're top 6 in points per game. They're top 15 in passing yards per game. They're top 20 in rushing yards per game. But you got to think that number is only going to jump up moving forward. And Gil, let's just cut to the chase right away. I mean, the plan is how do you stop Myles Garrett?
That's got to be.
That's 1. That's 2. That's objective 1 through 5. Honestly,
it should be. And the concern is obviously we don't know whether or not both Zach Tom and Aaron Banks will be available, and if they are available, how effective will they be? And I'm more concerned about Tom because of the nature of the injury. It's not something that's going to heal. If he plays, he's got to play through pain for the foreseeable future, maybe all season. And, Myles Garrett is elite. He is, one of the few players who you put in the same breath as Micah Parsons when it comes to rushing the quarterback. And, you talked about the Browns like to get the ball out fast. The Packers like to take their shots downfield, but if they're going to do that, they've got to get the short passing game and the running game going first.
Yeah, with Myles Garrett, too. I mean, the guy is tied for the NFL lead early on with 3.5 sacks on the season. And when he demanded a trade this offseason before surprisingly signing another contract to stay in Cleveland long term, and when it was possible where it's like Parsons was available, Myles Garrett was reportedly available, Trey Hendrickson was available, Max Crosby was potentially available. And honestly, 1 and 2 on my list, 1A and 1B on my list, Gil, for a dream Packer pickup were Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. That's how good Myles Garrett is. He is an unbelievable talent, unbelievable specimen at defensive end. It's amazing. You watch that guy, you're just like, how is that a human? How are we the same species? It just doesn't make any sense, Gil. He's really that good. I mean, I have all the respect in the world for how talented he is. But the thing is, it's with Green Bay, man, you don't have Zach Tom coming up. Anthony Belton played very well. Outside of that hold that he had early in the game on Thursday Night Football, I got to apologize to Anthony Belton because I was very critical of him, especially in the preseason. But, man, he was really good against Washington on Thursday Night Football. And Jordan Morgan was pretty solid. He's been solid too, but it's going to be a very interesting situation where if Rasheed Walker is up for a new contract after this season, Gil, if Rasheed Walker performs well against Myles Garrett, he's going to be a very, very rich man coming up this offseason. So it's a good test. This is what you want to see. You want to see how we do against the best guys at their position. But you got to think where it's like they're going to have a similar game plan to what they had with Aiden Hutchinson, where it's going to be constant chips, they're going to be constantly hitting him, just making sure that he is not a part of it whatsoever, because he can totally wreck a game by himself.
He can. And here's another area where I'm concerned about Tucker Kraft being out, because he is the guy they often use to chip a pass rusher like Myles Garrett. And I want the A-team out there if at all possible.
Oh, for sure. Hey, it's nice. John Fitzpatrick's a big dude. Ben Sims is a willing blocker. But I could see Malik Heath just like being a chipper, because he's willing to do the dirty work. I don't know how well he'll do, how effective he'll be, but he'll do it. He'll be willing to do it. And Chris Brooks is a willing pass blocker, too, in the backfield. So it's going to be a very interesting situation. Myles Garrett is – it's very much where it's like I go back to 2023 – when the Packers were in Vegas against the Raiders, and Max Crosby single-handedly destroyed that game on defense.
Yep.
And single-handedly destroyed the Packers offense. You cannot let that happen. And I think Matt LaFleur, having that experience in the past, knows how to plan against a guy like this to make sure that they don't impact the game single-handedly.
Yeah, and we'll see a lot of chip blocks. We may see some rollouts. We may see some different, some shuffle passes. We may see some different things, some screens, just to mix it up. And maybe we see the Wildcat again. We certainly saw it last week.
Savion was, I love that play call. It was productive. Savion Williams doesn't slip. He has a chance to go the distance, possibly.
Yes, he does.
I don't know if he does, but he has a chance to at least gain 5-10 more yards. But now that it's good, the thing is the other part of that, though, where I like that so much, where now the Packers have that on tape, and you're giving defensive coordinators another thing to think about and another thing to be prepared for. And Savion Williams could be a very nice weapon coming up on Sunday if they utilize him the right way. It's just there's a lot of different directions and ways that this Packers offense can beat opposing defenses. So, but this will be the test, though, for the Packers offense early on the season. Cleveland's defense is outstanding. Can't make mistakes against these guys, and you got to just take care of number 95 on the other side, man. Just don't let him take over, because if so, we got an upset brewing.
Yeah, no question, and we cannot let that happen. You can't go out and beat Detroit and Washington and then lose to Cleveland.
No, not at all. But hey, Cleveland's desperate. We're feeling good. That's the recipe for a potential disaster, and it's in Cleveland too. But hopefully the Packers can prevail with a win. Let's go over some key stats coming up going into the game. Turnover ratio this year, Packers +1. The Browns are -4. They've given away the ball 4 times in the first 2 games, have not generated a turnover. Penalties, Green Bay, 12 penalties total this year, tied for 11th in the league. Cleveland, 13 penalties. That's also tied for 11th. Tied for, that's a typo. Just ignore it. Just ignore it, Gil. We're moving on. We're moving on. This is live. Third down conversion percentage. Green Bay's offense, 40.9% on offense, tied for 17th. Their defense, 32.3%. They have been damn good on defense on third down, 6th best in the NFL. Cleveland's offense, 47.1% on third down. That's 5th best in the league. 38.5% on defense. That's pretty respectable. That's 14th in the NFL. And then red zone touchdown percentage. Green Bay's offense, 66.7%. That's tied for 10th. The defense, 40%. That's 6th best in the NFL. Cleveland's offense, they haven't had a lot of opportunities down there, but they're 80% so far early on in the season. That's tied for 4th in the league. The defense, 71.4%, tied for 24th. It's an area the Packers could really take advantage if they can drive down on the Cleveland defense. And then the Browns injury report real quick. Few DNPs so far this week. Offensive lineman Joel Bitonio has been out all week with a back issue. Wide receiver DeAndre Carter was out Wednesday, but returned in a limited fashion on Thursday. Defensive tackle Mike Hall Jr. was limited on Wednesday and did not practice on Thursday. Right tackle Jack Conklin's been limited this week with an injury. And then a couple full participants worth noting on the injury report. Cornerback Denzel Ward and safety Grant Delpit, both full participants so far this week in practice. Looks like they'll be okay and ready to go. Gil, why does Green Bay win on Sunday?
Boy, Green Bay wins if they take care of business. They are the better team. If they manage to contain Myles Garrett and sort of minimize the damage he does, they should win the football game.
If Myles Garrett is not the headline from this game, Packers win. Straight up. If he is not the headline from this game, the Packers win. Why does Green Bay lose?
They would have to, I think, lose the turnover battle by like 3 or more to really lose this game, or if the defense just falls apart, which I just don't expect. I think Green Bay's offense will have a challenge against a tough Cleveland defense, but unless there's a lot of short fields due to turnovers, I don't see Cleveland's offense generating a lot of points.
If Green Bay doesn't bring their own juice to this game, and they talk about that all the time, it's like you got to bring your own juice. If they don't get amped up for this game like they did the first 2 weeks, where they had two really good football teams come into Lambeau Field and dominated two really good football teams at Lambeau Field, this is a game where you could be like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. We're just gonna go through the motions. We'll be okay. If they take their eye off the ball, that's how Green Bay loses. And I'm with you too, Gil. If you lose the turnover ratio by not just one, by like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Then you lose. I feel like that's their only chance that they lose this game, because I feel like they could lose the turnover ratio and still win this game. But you got to just take care of business.
Yeah, got to take care of business. Can't let down. Don't take your foot off the gas. And don't fall into the trap, because this is a potential trap game. I hope and I think we will see a lot of green and gold jerseys in the stands in Cleveland on Sunday.
My parents are going to be there on Sunday, so
nice.
They're going to be wearing green and gold. They asked if I want to go, but I went down to Death Valley last week too for Florida LSU. So I was like, I got to stay home. I got to, it's like I only have so much money to spend, Gil, So, I wish I was there, but there's probably going to be a ton of green and gold there regardless. Gil, what's your prediction?
I think the Packers win this. I don't think it's an extremely high-scoring game. I think the Browns may keep it close for the first half, but I think Green Bay wins this one 24-10.
It's funny, Gil, because I had my prediction in last night. I typed it up last night. You sent me your prediction a few hours before recording today. You sent me the same exact score. That's exactly what I'm going with. Packers 24, Browns 10. I know the spread is very much in favor of Green Bay, which it should be, but I feel like we're destined for a 2-score game, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout like people may be anticipating.
No, I don't think this will be easy, but I think it will be a solid win.
Gil, what articles do you have coming up? Packers Post, Cheesehead TV.
Well, for the Packers Post, I took a look at Keyshawn Nixon and the good start that he's off to this year. I mean, here's a guy who entered the league as an undrafted free agent and took a lot of steps forward as a kick returner, slot corner, and now he's CB1. So took a little look at him and then talked about Tucker Kraft and the great start he's off to for Cheesehead TV. And then he gets injured in practice the same day the article comes out. So that wasn't good timing. But still believe that Tucker Kraft is on his way to a Pro Bowl season if he stays healthy.
Gil, just take ownership, man. It's your fault. It's your fault for the Tucker.
Yeah, okay.
It's all about accountability here on No Huddle.
If I had that power.
I'm just saying. Hey, no, I'm kidding. I'm messing around, obviously. But yeah, that's Keyshawn Nixon, man, he looked good on Thursday too. Again, it's just awesome. So a lot of good stuff to talk about. It's nice to write positive stuff about the Packers.
It's nice.
It's much better than the negative. Positive always outweighs the negative, in my opinion. So
winning is just so much better than losing, right?
It tastes much better. Everything tastes better when you win. Like my Mondays are much better when we win. So
yes.
Gil, you ready for some trivia?
I am ready for the trivia.
Well, we talked about Tucker Kraft's breakout performance in primetime on Thursday Night Football. He caught 6 passes for 124 yards, scored a touchdown, and secured a 1 Lambeau leap into my section of the stands of the Packers.
Yes.
27-18 win over the Commanders. That was the coolest thing ever, I would say, as a fan. It was amazing. It was Kraft's first career 100-yard receiving game at the NFL level and the most yards by a Packers tight end in a regular season game in almost 10 years. Last time that happened, so when Richard Rodgers registered 146 yards against the Detroit Lions in the Motor City Miracle. Kraft's 124 yards was the 4th most receiving yards by a Packers tight end in a regular season game. Gil, including Richard Rodgers, which 3 Packers tight ends have registered more receiving yards in a regular season game than Kraft?
Paul Kaufman has got to be 1.
So he actually is tied for Kraft with 4th.
Okay.
At 124, which is so ironic.
Yeah, that is ironic. Boy, this is Okay. Are we counting playoff games or
not play, just regular season? Because Jermichael Finley definitely has a higher total.
That's where I was going. I think Finley also had one really big regular season game as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to say Finley is on this list.
Yeah, Finley's on the list. Do you have any guesses at the third? Because this is a poll, man. Like this.
Okay. Another one I think is Jackie Harris.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it. You got it. Yeah,
okay.
You got it.
There you go.
Richard Rodgers, 2015 at Detroit. Jermichael Finley, 2009 at Minnesota. And Jackie Harris, 1993 against Denver. For Rodgers, 61 of Rodgers, 146 yards that night. It was from that Hail Mary catch on Thursday Night Football, which is pretty shocking and pretty ironic too. Statistically, Jermichael Finley had the most impressive game by Packers tight end in franchise history in the playoffs when he caught 6 passes for 159 yards in the Packers' overtime playoff loss in Arizona in January 2010. I remember that. He was incredible that day.
Yes.
Earlier that season, though, Finley caught 6 passes for 128 yards and a score in the Packers' loss at Minnesota in October of 2009. And then Harris, your boy Jackie Harris, caught 5 passes for 127 yards, scored a touchdown. The Packers' slim 30-27 win over the Broncos in October of 93. And then Kraft, you did mention Paul Kaufman. He matched Paul Kaufman for the 4th most receiving yards by a Packers tight end in franchise history. He had that career night in the Packers' wild 48-47 Monday Night Football win over, ironically, Washington.
Yeah. See, now, the only reason I remember Jackie Harris, or the main reason, he was on my fantasy team that year.
In 93? You guys have fantasy in 93?
Yeah, oh yeah. He was on my fantasy football team in 93. And that game that you're mentioning was Reggie White's coming out party in Green Bay, because he had a sack of John Elway in like the final minute of the game to seal the win. It was a nationally televised game. I think it was Sunday Night Football, but that's a memorable game and it sticks out. And the fact that Jackie Harris was on my fantasy team, I think I got the W because of that performance in part that week.
Was that like pen and paper you guys did your fantasy team on?
Yeah, it was pen and paper. We actually had to call it in. So, yes.
I'm not saying you're a dinosaur, but it's like because the internet wasn't – that was the early stages of the internet. We didn't really have it back then.
Yeah, it was the early stages of the internet, yes.
I mean, I had dial-up as a kid growing up, so that's all I was thinking of. It's like, man, that's pretty cool, though. That's awesome. Packers, the 2-0 Packers going to the Dog Pound to play the 0-2 Cleveland Browns. Noon kickoff Central Time in Cleveland on the banks of Lake Erie. 1:00 Eastern over in New York City. If you're near Gill, if you're in Long Island, you'll 1:00. That's when you need to be ready by. 11:00 Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, and then you can figure out the other time zones from there. I'm not going to list them off. You can Google it from there. So hopefully the Packers get to 3-0. Gil, don't fall into the trap. That's all I got to say. Don't fall into the trap.
Absolutely. And of course, we will be back next week to cover all of that and preview week 4 as the Micah Parsons Bowl takes place between the Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. So that is going to do it for us today. We'll be right back here next week. Follow us on Twitter at Packers or at GBPackers. Stay up to date on all the Packers or to ask us questions. Or you can email us at gbpackerssean@gmail.com. Make sure you're subscribed to Packers Talk on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Big thanks to PackersTalk.com for powering our show. Thank you for listening. Until next time, go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.